and welcome to Beyond the Northern Wall with me, your host, Kayla Malari. I know usually there's a whole intro. I know there's usually, we do it. I'm not doing that today. Not doing all of that today. Today, we have something serious to talk about. So today is a town hall episode. Usually we have come be a patron. Usually we have join us on social media. Usually we promote all our collaborators. Usually there's a whole opening. Not today. If you're in the chat today, I want you to pay attention. I seriously want you to pay attention because what I'm talking about today is serious and it's something that I've addressed before. But now on behalf of CORE, as a CEO, one of the co-founders and a director, I want to direct it here on our YouTube channel for it to live in perpetuity so you can reference it again. So if you're in the chat, please pay attention. You don't need to respond in the chat. You don't need to say anything in the chat. You don't need to have conversations in the chat. If you're here on Beyond the Northern Wall, you're here watching my stream live, you're here to listen. So I'm going to ask you, and I'm not even going to worry about being polite. This is mom voice right now. I'm going to say pay attention. Listen. Welcome to Beyond the Northern Wall with me, your host, Kayla Malari. As the current CEO and one of the co-founders of the Core Dance Crew, I would like to hold this town hall to address a number of things. First and foremost, we're going to talk about parasocial relationships. Before we do that, I'm going to add this on here. Boom! We got a trigger warning because we got to address some serious things. Trigger warning for sensitive subject material, grooming, racial violence, and sexual harassment. Because guess what? We got to address all this stuff. Because guess what? It's happening. So, we're going to talk about parasocial relationships. What does that mean? Parasocial relationships are the psychological relationship that an audience and an influencer or celebrity or anyone in the media has with their audience. It goes two ways. A parasocial relationship is, say, a celebrity with their fan base, but also the fan base with their celebrity. Parasocial relationships are what the army has with BTS and how BTS relates back to their army. That's what it is. You don't actually know this person in real life, but you create a psychological connection and relationship to them because they are in the media. You have that. Now, a parasocial relationship, this isn't anything new. This isn't anything new at all. It's been around. As long as there's been the moving pictures and there's been celebrities of any kind, and now to this day and age, you have social media stars like TikTok stars, and you have lifestyle influencers, and you have social media influencers. Parasocial relationships are more common. You're just going to have that. Here's the thing. So many people are like, I don't know how to conduct myself during a parasocial relationship. I don't know how to... You don't need a seminar for that. You don't need to be taught how to conduct yourself in a parasocial relationship. What you need to know in order to have a parasocial relationship is to understand respect, politeness, etiquette, and that's it. Those three things: respect, politeness, and etiquette. If you can't apply respect, politeness, and etiquette in real life, best know that you cannot apply it through social media, through the internet. Sometimes people say things on the internet to celebrities or influencers or anyone that they look up to that is just rude. It's rude. And I'm saying this as someone where I have addressed this on my own personal Instagram. I had a whole live where I addressed this exact same thing. And now I'm saying it here on behalf of CORE because I want to protect my fellow dancers and I want to protect my fellow COREsmen, but I also want to protect my fellow comrades because some of my comrades out there, you don't know how to protect yourself. For a generation that's all about looking out for ourselves, it's all about acceptance, everything, you are doing everything in your power to make sure that you are not being safe on your own end. So I'm doing this for your benefit. I'm doing this so that you can take care of yourself and that you can respect my fellow COREsmen and I can protect my fellow COREsmen. So, if you can't say it in person, you can't say it on the internet. For example, would you ever go up to someone you don't know, and say, this is like a mitigated example. Would you ever go up to someone and say, hey, you should change your hair to long and black? To which, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, no. But then if they kept responding and said, but I like it when it was long and black, I'd be like, I don't care what you like. I like my hair now. That's really rude. Like, you wouldn't say that, right? Would you say that to someone? Would you tell someone, hey, I prefer you to look a certain way, so you should change to that? And when they say, no, I don't like that, to keep asking them to change into what you think is pretty on them, and then to try to add a compliment to make it seem like a compliment. But I think the hair looks really pretty with your smile. No, that is so wrong. Would you do that in real life? No, you wouldn't. Guess what? That is a real conversation I had on Instagram. I even screenshot it and I sent it to my soulmate. And I said, what? That's weird. So I took the time and I messaged this person back and I said, hey, I know it was not your intent. I literally said that. Like to the word, I said, I know it was not your intent, but saying something like that, asking someone to change their physical appearance to your preference, is actually very rude, and you shouldn't do that. The response was, well, I wasn't actually telling you to do it. Even though their very first comment was, can you change your hair? So they were literally saying, I know I said can you, but I didn't really mean it. That's also not okay. Like, in general, you can't be like, well, these are the words that I said, but I didn't really mean what I said. Yeah, then you don't have to say it. You literally don't. Hello, Tessie. My mic went out. Sorry, because I got upset. But what I was saying was, contrary to popular belief, you don't need to express every thought in your head at all times. Most especially if it's a rude comment, if it's inappropriate, if it's uncalled for. You don't have to express it. That is a very, 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 very short and small example that I can give you. Yeah? Now, with everyone, I've had to deal with so many of my coresmen. We've talked about this in the past. We talked about it with feminism at our core. We talked about it with everything. Comments like that bleed into harassment comments. Comments like that bleed into what turns out to be vastly inappropriate comments. Now, what's crazy about when I had that conversation with that person, they literally didn't think what they said was rude. And that's where I have a problem. If you don't know you're being rude, that's strange to me. That you think that you're like, well, I didn't really mean for that to be rude. It's like, then I don't think you know how to be polite. And it's crazy because in this day and age, you have to know that if you are demanding respect, if people are always posting and saying, I need people to recognize me, nobody recognizes me, nobody sees me, no one understands me. Well, guess what? Flip the question around. Do you understand anyone else? Are you respecting anyone else? Are you showing politeness and consideration for anyone else? Because if you don't know how to do that on the other side, you cannot ask for it back. If you don't know how to give respect, by golly gun, do you not get to ask for respect. Learn how to give it first before you ask for it. So instead of just being self-absorbed the whole time, maybe you learn to be a considerate member of the community and society, and you think about other people over yourself. That is my biggest issue with the internet right now. Is that people don't know how to listen to other people. They just keep talking and not listening to what's being said to them. If you don't know if what you're posting or sending to someone, especially in a private message, if you're not sure if it's rude or not, ask yourself, would I ask someone this in real life? If I'm going to send the core dance crew a private message, is this something I would actually go up to a stranger I do not know? Because you have to remember that. You do not know people in parasocial relationships. You do not know celebrities that you idolize. You do not know these influencers that you follow. You don't know them in real life. They are strangers to you. So would you go up to a stranger? If you're unsure, write out your message and go find a stranger on the street and then ask them yourself. If you're awkward and scared, best believe you should probably not send that message. Okay? That's the main thing. learn respect, learn basic politeness. Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing too, on your end, for the safety of you on your end, if you like someone that's a celebrity or an influencer or someone who has a mass following on social media, you have to understand that they're a stranger and you need to protect yourself and not share personal and sensitive information. A lot of times we go on the internet. We go on Facebook, we go on Instagram, we go on Discord, we go on Twitch, and we feel like it's a safe space. To an extent, it's a safe space. But you also have to mitigate and filter what you share and not share every single little thing for a number of reasons. One, protect yourself. People may seem like your friend online, and they probably are. They're probably there to support you. There are groups and Facebook groups, Instagram groups, Discord groups, whatever, that are meant to support you. People with like-minded intent. People who have the same beliefs as you. That's great. That's nice. That's awesome. But at the same time, you don't just reveal every single dark little secret about yourself, because it's the internet, people. It's the internet. It's the interwebs. People can use the information. You do not express every single little thing about yourself. In reality, we're taught that. Generally, you don't just, for people you don't know, for your friends, maybe. But don't just reveal information. Alongside that, don't reveal locations, don't reveal intent, don't reveal dark things to strangers that you don't know, where one, what if they're a predator? What if they're actually a bad guy? You might think they're a good guy, but sometimes they're a bad guy. That's been used before. There are influencers that have been accused of grooming their younger audience or manipulating their audience into saying, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. Thank you for caring for me. I love you, really support me, but you should do this and you should do that and you should do this. There's one way to say like, hey, support my company, support my brand, support this brand. There's another thing to ask for personal favors that some influencers and some celebrities have exploited, and that is not safe on your end. That's why you need to understand that there are boundaries that have to be set. Boundaries on your end, boundaries on the end of the influencer or the celebrity, whoever may be. Understand boundaries. And understand boundaries are there to protect both sides. Both you and me. Them and they. He and she. And everyone in between. It's meant to protect you. Boundaries. Also, let me just tell you, if you see comments out there in the world that are vastly inappropriate, that are just terrible, one, you shouldn't let it fly. And then two, you should understand that people like that do that because of the anonymity. There's also the side of it where people don't, how do I explain this? On the topic of grooming, I'm going to share this with you. On Core's TikTok, there's a video of me dancing Talk Dirty. I've said this 1,000 times. I will say it 1,000 times again because it's relevant right now. I'm an adult. I'm a full-blown human being. I've been around for literally 3 decades. It's crazy. Some of my dancers, I've been dancing longer than they've been alive. I didn't start dancing till I was 3, so understand that that's a long time to be alive, okay? Someone posted on my Talk Dirty dance, and they said, my name is Steve, and I found someone to groom. Grooming is, if you don't know what it is, grooming is the use of authority and leadership, and most especially age, into manipulating and exploiting a younger generation into a romantic relationship, and most especially and most likely a sexual relationship as they get older. For example, the dance community was under fire last summer because a lot of the leaders in the dance community who were 21 and over were grooming the younger generation, usually dancers who were under 18 down to 16 to 13, grooming them, manipulating them so that they could have a relationship when they got older and it was legal. That's not okay. That is not okay. You cannot do that because that is illegal. That is illegal on so many things. That's what grooming is. I legitimately did not know what grooming was until it came surfacing last year. And all of these leaders were just... There it goes. Okay. Sorry, I knocked my mic over. I didn't know what grooming was until I saw all these leaders being brought up about it in the dance community. And I had to literally ask people, I was like, what is grooming? Like, I don't think it's used in the way that I remember it being used, and I found out it's that terminology. It's where you groom someone to become something else later on in the worst sense. So for that comment to say, hi, my name's Steve, I found someone to groom, one, that's super messed up and inappropriate to like just put that out there. Two, it was used in the wrong context. It was used on an adult. That was like, that shook the olive board. It shook all of us. We saw that and I was like, what? First of all, what that? Like, why would you post that? Second of all, the fact that this person thinks this is acceptable to speak about in public just exacerbates the problem with people on the internet, on places like TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, not knowing the boundaries, not knowing that there are things you cannot say. The anonymity of the internet has allowed people to be the most horrible versions of themselves or else the best version of themselves. And we need to stop people on the most horrible end. That was beyond. That was beyond shocking that would even happen. And that's not even the worst. Of course, we've had to deal with racial comments for some of our dancers, which is just, that's disgusting. There's been people that have straight up threatened violence on others based off the fandom that they liked. There's been comments threatening violence towards anyone on core or any of our videos that have to do with Boku no Hero Academia. That is bananas. That they think that is okay. It's not okay. And when you see comments like that, you have to address them. That was something else that was brought up to me, was a comrade. They're not even a comrade. I'm not going to deem them that. Someone, a guy, was like, I don't even understand why you're addressing this stuff. First of all, he didn't like on my personal IG live, that I asked people to stop asking me inappropriate comments and to stop asking me for inappropriate things and to stop sharing inappropriate content with me. His comment was, I don't see why you're complaining because you're a public figure and Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man and he gets it worse than you. To which I responded, yeah, I'm not going to argue that Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man has to deal with actual fame. Like, that's fame. I'm just a person. Sure, yeah, I agree. He's famous. He has to deal with a lot. I still don't understand what you're saying. And then he went on, he said, you travel all over the world. You should be grateful for all this. And I was like, wow, you're really rude. And he said, no, I also don't think that you should get these inappropriate comments, but you shouldn't address them. It's hard for me to watch a strong, intelligent woman be weak. I didn't even know what to say. I was just like, oh, I blocked him right away, of course. And I also asked him to leave my page. I said, you know what? You should just leave. Like, he was like, you called me mean. I don't know. And I was like, that's fine. I don't care. I think you should go away then. I think you should go and leave my social media because if it's upsetting you, like, by all means go. And then he tried to throw a bone and was like, no, I'm going to stay because I like your dancing. That's weird. Like, you're weird. No one has to tell you you're weird. You should know that's weird. You should know there's something wrong with how you conduct relationships with people because that's weird. Just like it's weird to tell someone to change their appearance. Just like it's weird to tell a cosplayer, hey, you can't cosplay that character because you're black. That's weird. You're weird. You're rude. You don't get to tell a cosplayer they don't get to cosplay something because of the way they look. That's like saying, hey, you can't be in Starbucks because you're wearing shoes today. Someone would look at you and be like, that's not, first of all, that's not your issue. Second of all, nobody agrees with you. Third of all, get the hell out of here. Because what? That bleeds into everything. Parasocial relationships and the way you conduct yourself on social media bleeds into everything. Learn basic politeness. So many people have asked me, like, where do I learn seminars on how to conduct myself on the internet? It's not seminars, darling. Those are there to help you if it gets detailed. But I'm going to give you this free seminar right here. Just be polite. Say please and thank you. Don't comment on people's appearances, especially if it's a critique and it's a rude critique. You just don't do that. I don't go up to people and say, hey, you look ugly today, because that's like rude. That's rude. Just don't be rude. I don't understand why people need to take classes on how not to be rude. That's bizarre that you don't know what's polite and you don't know what's rude. Weird. And all of this bleeds into, we have way more intense things that we need to be focusing on right now instead of people's appearance and other people's cosplays and dealing with wanting people to do stuff for us. Like, there are actual issues out there. We are dealing with a pandemic. We are trying to stop violence against the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Like Derek Chauvin is on trial. We got way more intense things that we need to be focusing on rather than you coming on, telling on someone else's TikTok that you want to groom them. Ew. Ew. That's not okay. And also ignoring is not okay either. You do not ignore that. A lot of people have been talking about the bystander effect. If you have been up to date with the news, especially with all of the Asian American and Pacific Islander violence, just recently in New York City, an older Filipino woman was brutally beaten on the sidewalk and was watched by two security guards who did nothing to stop her brutal beating, as well as close the door on her. And that has sparked a lot of talk and a lot of discussion about the bystander effect. And I've actually seen a lot of stuff like that. The bystander effect. Here's the thing. You have to know if you are someone who would actually do something. We all think that if we were in that situation, we would have jumped in right at the gun and defended her. But think about it for a second. Do you let people get away with stuff like that on the internet? Do you let inappropriate comments go? Do you leave inappropriate comments for other people? Do you do stuff like that through the anonymity lens of the internet? Are you contributing to that? Have you ever stood up for anyone, for a friend, when they were just being kind of bullied? Have you ever done that? That's all part of it. If you have this grand heroic gesture that you're going to fly in with a cape and stop this man from beating a woman, but you won't stand up and say, Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, you just won't proclaim that, then you have to come to terms with yourself knowing that there is still a lot of work you have to do, that you are a bystander, and that you have to understand that there are things that you need to change about yourself. And it starts at one, where you go on the internet, and you stop being rude. 2, you don't allow other people to be rude. 3, you actually say something against the rude people. And then 4, then you can put on your cape and you can fly around and you can save people. But it all comes down to the same base and foundation of understanding basic politeness, etiquette, and respect. Respect for everyone, whether it's through TikTok, the fact that we have to talk about TikTok at all is just, what a sign of the times. That is ridiculous. That there are people that are just saying, oh my gosh, y'all, some of you and the way you conduct yourselves, I don't even think you know what you're saying. I'm really going to address this. But people say like, oh, step on me. Do you even know where that comes from? Do you know the origin of that? Or are you just saying it because people say that on TikTok? Are you saying that because people say that on TikTok? Do you know where step on me came from? It's a masochistic and sadistic thing. It's bled out of kink and submission, but it doesn't come from that. You have to know it comes from a dark place. The term F-boy. People have said that. They just say, ooh, this F-boy, that F-boy. Do you know where that comes from? Because you should not be saying it. I couldn't believe that was something that people have been saying. I cannot believe. If you don't know the origin, you don't need to know. Just know you shouldn't be saying it. Ever, ever, ever. And these are things that I'm seeing commonly with no trigger warnings. I have a trigger warning on this video. There are no trigger warnings on this. You can scroll through TikTok, you can scroll through Instagram, and you see this terminology out there. You see these horrible comments. You see this content, and people just say it because that's what everyone's saying. Oh my gosh, you literally don't understand that the things you're saying are terrible things, and maybe you should stop. So maybe with all of this internet at our power, like maybe you should research something and be like, is that appropriate to say? And then look and be like, well, it's not appropriate to say. For all the power of the iPhone and the Android in our hands, how are we still so oblivious and ignorant to things? And a lot of people use that too. They say, well, I'm antisocial. I have social anxieties. I don't deal with people. Those are a different matter. Social anxieties, understandably, that's a mental health issue. That's on you. That's fine. You don't get to use that as an excuse to be ignorant towards other people. You don't get to use being antisocial as a reason to be rude and inappropriate. That is not what that's for. People have literally used that. They're like, well, I don't really know how to talk to people. Well, you're on the internet, so look it up. And also, you are clearly on social media. You are clearly interacting through the internet on a thing that literally says social media. Social. So you can't use that as an excuse. Just like you can't use your trauma as an excuse to imbue trauma on others. You just can't do that. You know who does that? Serial killers do that. Serial killers do that. You don't get to do that. You don't get to make an excuse for your ignorance if it hurts and disrespects other people, if it's inappropriate to other people. I am so worked up about this because it is not stopping. It is amazing how many people out there do not understand that what they're doing is not okay. I have to listen to, like, poor Nifa is going around. She is an internet Batman. She goes around just defending people, fighting against social injustice. My soulmate, Sidali, is just an Aries on a rampage. You say something rude or disrespectful, she will come for you. No holds bars. It is amazing, and it's amazing. Stop saying poor Kayla. Now that's annoying. This isn't here for sympathy. Are you listening to me? This is not here for sympathy. I am not here for your pity. Don't do that. Listen to what I'm actually saying. Listen to the content of my words. You're not listening to me, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. Stop chatting. Stop chatting. Just stop doing it. I left that chat. I want to shut that chat down, honestly. Stop chatting. Listen to what I'm saying. It's not sympathy. It's not poor anything. This is something that you should be as angry about as much as I'm angry about. But the inappropriate and disrespectful way people conduct themselves over the internet and social media. So stop. Listen. If you're here in this, you don't have to be here in this live stream. If you're not going to listen to me talk, you don't have to be here. And I'm very, very serious about that. I literally just read a whole article on Next Shark about how this little Asian lady defended against horrible reviews. And she was like, I'm not about being, diplomatic and whatnot. You can't. No. So listen to what I'm saying. Yes. Isn't it amazing? I asked people to stop chatting in the beginning, and yet there's just still conversation going on that has nothing to do with the content. If the conversation has to do with the content that I'm talking about, that's one thing. And then there's conversation that has nothing to do with the content. So again, it's like, what is the point? What is the point of any of this at all? It starts with you. You have to make a difference. It is not the other. It is not the everyone else. It is you. Change how you act. Are you being a respectful person? Do you listen when other people talk? Do you defend when you see bad stuff happening? Do you know how to say please and thank you? Do you know the difference between a compliment and an insult? Do you have the right to judge someone right now? You need to start with those conversations with yourself rather than say, people suck. Well, do you suck? Like, honestly, do you suck? I think about it all the time. I'm like, oh, I got to make sure when I go out today, I'm not a horrible person. Go out in the world and make sure I am not a horrible person. You need to do that. You need, not other people. A lot of times we'll be like, oh my God, people in the world, they're just like the worst. People are terrible. But also make sure that you're not part of the terrible people. And if you think you've been perfect your whole life, then you know what, sweetie, I gotta tell you, you're not perfect your whole life. I know I'm not perfect every day. I've literally had things where immediately I'm like, oh, regrets, that probably wasn't the best. I also know proudly that I've never shared inappropriate material with anything and any strangers over social media. I also know I can never be accused of sexual harassment or grooming. I know with confidence I will not be accused of that. I know with confidence I'll never be accused of racial violence. I know with confidence that none of that will be anything that I have to worry about. And that's what was crazy too. Back a year ago when everyone was surging forward with all these community leaders and they're like, oh my gosh, everyone's revealing and blah, blah, blah. Like me and my board were over here and we were like, wow, isn't it weird? Some people are like, oh, I don't know if I could be accused. I was like, wow, you don't know? That means there was a time in your life where you might have been like a poopy person? That sucks. I could say with confidence, yup, nope, never did that. Never did that. Never did that. As a leader, definitely did that. What I can be accused of as a leader is being too passionate, kind of mean, loud. I yell. I do that. I yelled at you guys. I can be accused of that. Oh, 100%, 100%. But I will never be accused of grooming. I will never be accused of sexual harassment. I will never be accused of racial violence. I know that proudly. If some people don't know that proudly, like, holy cow. I mean, that is the indicator. So that goes along with everything. If you are on social media and you're like, oh no, did I ask something inappropriate? If you have to wonder, maybe you should, take a second, reflect, and be like, okay, do I know the difference of what is an appropriate social media interaction or what's an inappropriate social media reaction? That is something that you have to come to terms with yourself. So, all of that put aside, there are more important things, but we have to make sure we take care of these things first. With all the trigger warnings here, sensitive subject material, that is just, don't share that on your end. Don't require it from strangers. Protect yourself, protect each other, look out for each other. In this day and age of full acceptance, we've almost looped all the way around to the point where now it's detrimental to our safety. We're like, I should be able to share everything. Everything should be a safe place. And then you've done it so much that now it's like you're making it super unsafe for other people. Because that's a thing too. If I cannot tell you the amount of times underage people have shared sensitive information and I have to say, hey, this is not protecting you. You need to stop. You need to seek professional help. Also with grooming, you need to know that that is like what it is and to cite it and to call it out when you see it. That's not okay. It's not a joke. That is some real shizman right there. Racial violence, that, like, the fact that we even have to talk about that in this day and age, this is the conversation we should be talking about because this shouldn't be a conversation. Like, there should be no violence based off race ever. And the fact that it is so prominent in the media, this is the conversation we should be having right here. This is the conversation. Racial violence, that's bananas. That's crazy. That we even have to worry. Today I was at work and in the morning at my job, there's a lot of older, the older demographic is there. And there was a lot of older Asian people. And I got so worried every time they walked out to their cars, I would watch them through the window just to make sure because I was like, oh my gosh, they're the people that are being targeted. they're the ones that could be hurt. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, can we have someone just like watch over them? That's the conversation we'll be having. That's why I didn't have a show last week, because of all the AAPI hate that's been going around. I didn't know how to have a Beyond the Northern Wall episode without being like, oh my gosh, can we just talk about that the whole time? Like, this is the worst. And on that subject, if you are someone out there that consumes any sort of anime or K-pop or anything, and you're not speaking out against the hate crimes that are going on against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, what the heck? Like, you cannot enjoy the products of the culture and not defend the people that are being targeted because of their ethnicity. Like, there so many people are like, why are only the Asian? Honestly, the biggest supporters of AAPI right now is BLM. Black Lives Matter has got our back. But like, where are the K-pop stans? Where are the weebs? Where are the otakus? Why are you guys not speaking up? Speak up. Fight back. I went to a protest with Lauren, our corpsman, and an alumni, Clarissa. We went to a protest down in Irvine, and it was mostly Asian and Black community. And then the white community was out there too. It wasn't as big, it wasn't as profound, but I was like, for as many anime nerds as I see walking around, why is this not bigger? Why is this not bigger? Why are you not defending? Why are you not talking about it? You're gonna share a meme of Yamcha dead, but you ain't gonna talk about stopping Asian hate? Really? You're going to talk about the latest episode of Attack on Titan, but you're not going to address the fact that a 96-year-old woman was just beaten down on the sidewalk because of her race. You're not going to talk about that. You're going to talk about, oh, is Jujutsu Kaisen starting or Demon Slayer is going to start? Which one am I going to watch? But you're not going to talk about the women that were all Asian that were murdered brutally in Atlanta, Georgia. That's not okay. That's not okay. I'm not even going to mitigate that. I'm not going to filter that. That's not okay. You cannot enjoy anime and not care about the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. You just can't. You can't. And if you are, boo. Boo on you. And I poo on your shoe, because that's not cool. We have one of the strongest communities. The anime community and the K-pop community is probably one of the most powerful social media communities out there. Look at what the K-pop community did during the election. That was bananas on Twitter. Could you imagine if all K-pop stans and all anime nerds and weebs banded together behind the Asian American and Pacific Islander community to stop violence against us? Could you imagine? So why hasn't it happened yet? Why isn't that what's trending on TikTok? And yet what's trending on TikTok is Hinata shouldn't be black. Poo on you! Hinata looks great black. Shut up. You're probably someone that's like, Sakura is trash. Guess what? Who's also trash? You are. I am. Do you know why? Because we don't know how to do jutsus. Because we are not ninjas. Because I could not take poison out of Konkuro even if my life depended on it. Because I have no chakra control. Because I can't do... This does nothing for me. We are all trash. Now that's just going off on a different... Ugh. So dealing with the racial violence, especially nowadays, we need to talk about it because it's not getting better. If anything, it's getting worse. I didn't have a show last week because I was like, oh, I just feel so weighted down. Everyone feels so weighted down. This violence against Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders is just getting too profound. And I didn't know how to have an episode about comic books without just focusing on that. And I was like, I'll wait till next week. And now we're here next week and like worse things are happening. More terrible things are happening. So it's not ending, and it needs to end. It needs to end. So start having those conversations. Start focusing on that. A lot of people always say like, oh, I don't want to talk about like current affairs because it's negative. Guess what? We're in a negative time. You got to address it. You got to stop ignoring it. Stop ignoring it. Stop pushing it aside. You need a bystander. Bystander. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then sexual harassment in general, that is something we've talked about numerous times here on Core. We had it during the Feminism at Our Core talk, how so many of my beautiful, wonderful coresmen, from the guys to the girls to the non-binary to whatever, have had to deal with sexual harassment. And it's crazy that we still have to have that discussion. Like, we're not past that. We haven't moved past that. Today is Transgender Visibility Day. We are allies to the transgender community. And it is amazing that even in the cosplay community and even in the anime community, we still have to fight that. In a community where people are like, I felt so ostracized, and then the anime community accepted me. And then for some reason in the anime community, we have like gatekeepers that are like, Hinata can't be black, and transgender. What? No. What? No. No, 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 no. Accept all. And if people don't accept them, then you push them out. You push them out. People are like, cancel culture. Yeah, cancel the terrible people. I cancel racism. I'm not going to make room for racism. I cancel prejudice against the transgender community. Yeah, heck yeah. I'm going to cancel that. Cancel all of that. Cancel rude bullies. Cancel mean people. Cancel buttheads. Like, cancel culture was literally meant to cancel that out. But some people are like, everyone is allowed to express how... No, you're not allowed to express how you feel. If it's shutting someone else down, if it's being rude, again, going back to that foundation. Be respectful, be polite, have some etiquette. Conduct yourself with some human decency. My goodness, why can't you just be nice? And if people can't be nice, do something about it. Stand up for your fellow man, woman, non-binary, transgender. Stand up for them. Look out for them. Say something. Say anything for them. Make sure you share awareness. Literally, we've seen the good side of social media is the power to share this awareness. Holy cow, during the lockdown, we were sharing information like it was the new cool thing and it was going out of style. Literally everyone was sharing so much information. I was learning and absorbing so much data. I was like, well, I didn't know what that was. It was outstanding. And now we've kind of reverted back to, now we're just sharing terrible stuff. Sharing how to be a butthead in 2 easy steps. Say something inappropriate, not apologize for it. Like, don't share that. Share how to stop people like that. Ugh. It's crazy. So that's what this is. That's what this town hall is about. Reiterating back for people that just joined in. 1, parasocial relationships. Don't be mean. Don't be a butthead on social media. Also, don't go into core social media. Don't go into any coresman's personal social media and write a big long apology letter. That's not what's going to fix it. Don't do that, because honestly, apology letters like that are personalized in the DMs, it's not even about the person anymore. Usually you read those apology letters and people are like, I am so sorry if I did something. I did not mean to do that. I just really love you and I didn't mean to. See how many times you said I? Then it's not about the person. Don't worry about the apologies. Just change for the better. Look towards the future and think, okay, what can I do to do better? That's where it comes from. So don't go on core social media and fill the DMs with stuff like that. Don't go on any of my coresmen's social media and fill the DMs with that. Just make sure that you are actively trying to become a better human for the future. That's literally why we're here. That's what core's whole thing is about. We dress up as these characters, and then when we dress up as these characters, we try to exemplify what would they do? What would Naruto do if he walked into the United States at this day and age, saw racial violence, inappropriateness? He'd probably just be like, oh my gosh, I have so many moral issues with everyone right now. Probably just gonna Rasengan because I'm a super passionate person. He would be livid. You saw this guy. He didn't stand for any injustice. He didn't like when anyone was put down. He would shut down the entire village and be like, you can't be terrible. Think about that. Think about your favorite characters. Think if good old Deku knew all this stuff, knew that you were saying something inappropriate on social media. You think Deku would be proud of you? Do you think Deku would be proud of you? Do you think Bakugo would even be proud of you? Bakugo would probably be like, I'm not even gonna grace you with attention, you peon, like you extra. I'm not gonna do that. So especially for the weebs out there, we look towards these amazing shonen heroes. We look towards these heroes in our favorite anime. And yet, in real life, you conduct yourself in a way where that hero would probably not like you. That's a change. That's a change that needs to be made. Seriously, that's a change. I literally think we know I love Hanji. I love everything about Hanji. I honestly think about that time and time again. Would Hanji be proud of what I'm doing? Would Hanji even want me on their squad with how I'm acting right now? A lot of times when Core gets so involved in our characters and we want to exemplify that. Every single one of our favorite characters in all of our favorite animes stand up for something good. I mean, like, yes, we love the villains, but you're not like, oh, I love Shigaraki and I just wish I could decay people with all 5 of my fingers and start a league and be evil. Like, that's not, if you're aspiring to be that, you need to, like, stop. You should stop. This is not good. There's one thing to, like, love villains, but you shouldn't want to wrap your whole being around them, right? You don't actually want to be them. You want to be the hero. You want to be the hero. You don't have to wait for your anime world to absorb you. You don't have to wait until the situation is perfect for you to start being a hero right now. Start being better right now. In the smallest instances, you can do better. You don't have to wait until you see someone getting beat up on the side of the street and then fly in there Captain America style and then just beat down the bad guy and be like, you can also just conduct yourself better and not be rude. Don't be rude when you go out. If you see someone else being rude when you're out, say, hey, you should stop. That's rude. Like, start small. Start small. And if we start working as a community in that small way, everything will be better. Yeah? Cool? Great. So that's this town hall. If you have any questions, I have 10 minutes for you. If you have questions, make sure they're questions that are relevant to the material. Otherwise, I'm going to call you out on that. I am going to call you out if you have questions that are not related to the material that I am talking about. Yeah. Oh, Anna said it. The people who idolize the Joker. I mean, we saw the if anyone knows the repercussions of what happened last time with shootings that were happening inside theaters of people who were like, the Joker, anarchy. Also, don't even properly know what the Joker stands for and yet use that excuse for violence. That's not okay. That's bananas. Anyways, if you have any questions, please throw them up in the chat. Make sure they're relevant. I would just like to say that on behalf of CORE, we always stand with all of everyone who needs it. We stand for Black lives. Black lives matter. Stop Asian American Pacific Islander hate. Transgender siblings, we stand with you. You're visible. LGBTQIA+, we stand with you. Pride, everything. We don't believe in discrimination. That's a lie. We discriminate against terrible people. That's who we discriminate against. Terrible people. I actively do not like terrible people. Okay. Do you have any advice regarding starting difficult questions with family members about our prejudices? I actually don't have advice for that, only because I myself have to conduct difficult conversations with family members. And there's honestly no right way or wrong way to do it. You don't have to. You can if you want to, but you know your family dynamic better than anyone else. It's going to be hard. Yeah. There's literally no one that has a good conversation with their family, especially when you have opposing opinions. So if you are willing to have that conversation with family, I mean, power to you. All I can really give you and all anyone can really give you is support. Support for your own mental health and for your own spiritual health. Like, I understand that struggle is real. How can they stand up? I said it. Do it. Start small. If you're on social media and you see someone being rude, stop them. If you're out in the world and you see someone being rude, stop them. If you want to go bigger and be a part of activists, join activist groups. Figure out how to be an activist. There are ways to be an activist where you're out there on the front lines. There are ways you can be activists from the safety of your home because you don't actually deal well with if you have social anxieties. There's so many different avenues. And again, you have the internet. You can look for these things. You don't have to wait for me to tell you. You can literally type in things. I was like, well, I want to start doing activist work. You can type that into Google. It will show you all these different resources. do you guys plan to make a video addressing this situation other than this live stream? We have some works in regards to Asian American and Pacific Islander violence. We have something that we are working on, and hopefully you guys track us on Instagram and whatnot. We want to address all that because clearly it does affect a lot of us, seeing as majority of court is Asian American and Pacific Islander. It's not something that we want to just push under the rug. We do want to do something active for it. What's this? Why were the comments disabled on that one video of you as Hanji? What was being discussed there? The comments, I didn't feel comfortable. And that was out of respect for me. My board did that. And mad props to my little Urban and Nifa, Sammy, for doing that. They disabled those comments. I didn't like comments that had to deal with, this video got me pregnant. Step on me. Marry me. This is making me question my sexual orientation. I'm not that kind of person in general. I don't talk like that in real life. Like to my friends. That's not how we talk to each other. I'm not super open with discussions on sex. And so that was weird seeing all of that stuff. And I just didn't like it. And then it opened up the conversation for more people to talk like that. So they disabled it because to me that I thought that was weird that was like normal on videos. So that was out of respect for me. That was them protecting me, honestly. Let's see. For the Asian American violence, what do you think we should do in the future to help out? Anything. There's so many different resources. One of the best websites you can go to is stopaapihate.org. Stopaapihate.org. That is a website if you need any reference on stopping Asian American Pacific Islander hate. That is a great one. It's a great starting point. Are you guys talking about this on TikTok or just YouTube? We're talking about this on YouTube. We don't know if we'll do TikTok. Honestly, when we go on TikTok, people aren't really there on the lives to listen. I don't know if you've noticed. No, last time I tried a dual stream, that was very rough. To be honest, I didn't know if I liked it. On Beyond the Northern Wall, I like to have discussions, serious discussions, whether it's about comics or anime or town halls like this, current affairs. I love having discussions like this. I love talking about nerdy things. I love talking about in-depth nerdy things. I like talking about current affairs. Core likes doing it. Core likes popping in on here. When I was on TikTok, the content didn't matter. The comments just had nothing to do with what was going on. So I just didn't do it this week because I'm talking about something serious today and I didn't want to have to deal with that, honestly. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll do this on TikTok. How can we actually support Asian lives? Is that what ALM, Asian Lives Matter? I did not know that. Because that, to me, Black Lives Matter is a thing. It's funny because I didn't know Asian Lives Matter. It's weird that we have to say that certain lives matter. Like people who go, all lives matter. Yeah, so you agree. Black lives matter. So you agree. Asian lives matter. Like what? I'm asking because it's actually first time I've heard of it, but I want to support it somehow. Stop aapihate.org. Best resource. I'm trying to see. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up. For those of us going into a white male-dominated industry like me, architecture, what are some steps that we can take to evolve society to accept people of all backgrounds and identities? That is something that literally, it does not take an individual, it takes a village. You need to find like-minded people like you, find your resources, find your support system, and work together to figure out ways to do that. We are not Batman. We are not billionaires that have infinite resources so we can do things on our own. We need community. We need people. And that's why we all need to be on the same page. So in order to do real change, you got to find those support groups and work together as a team. Could you see a level of racial violence reaching those levels? Wait, what? I don't know what that was referring to. Similar to those of the South and with African Americans and the lynching postcards made to normalize it. In this day and age, I don't think the stream of information will allow it to get to those levels. But at the same time, that stream of information, it's a double-edged sword. Social media is so quick to pick up on news, so we can spread the occurrence of a hate crime to the point where we can condemn it almost instantly, but it also can spark the other side to actively, I don't know, fight against anyone opposition. I don't know. It's very weird. It's hard to say. I don't think so, but at the same time, who knows? I'm trying to... Thank you, Nifa. Nifa is the one who's right there messaging and replying back. Nifa is the real MVP. What do you do if someone targets you or spreads rumors that you don't like? It's happened a lot for me. Yeah, same. You have to address it. You have to address it, and also wonder if you're part of someone that's perpetuating it. Wonder if you're part of someone oh my God, I can't even speak anymore. Wonder if you're perpetuating that, and if there are rumors about you, stop them. Speak up about them. Like, don't just let them happen. I did that. Did it help? I don't even think so. But it's part of what you can do to defend yourself. You have to, either that, or if it's something that you can't handle, you got to take yourself out of the situation. If you literally cannot handle social media, the pressures of it, you have to leave social media. Don't stay in a place that makes you feel terrible. Just don't do it. Get out of there. Get out of there. Are you guys planning on being part of any projects to stop all of this racism? Yeah, we have been part of projects. We continue to be a part of projects. We showcase them a lot. Doesn't get much recognition on a lot of our social media, but we are a part of a lot of stuff that does that. The disability community is often misunderstood and ignored from the media. I wish others would acknowledge people with disabilities because it can be anyone. All of the violence is upsetting. Yes, 100%. It's weird to tell someone to ignore the terrible things said about them. I think that's strange, because that was told to us a lot of times. Just ignore them. Well, no, that's the problem. We're told to ignore terrible people. No, like, don't fight back. Don't fight fire with fire, but stand up against stuff like that. That's what it is. It's stand up. Be like, no. That's it. Say no. And then if they don't stop, then you block them. Like, do something active. Don't be passive. Don't be passive. Yeah, you don't have to be a part of a project to create change. You can literally just do that. Yes. What Nifa said, as an organization, we stand for diversity and inclusion even when it's not in the news. It doesn't have to be what's talking about right now. Black Lives Matter that still stands. LGBTQIA+, that still stands. Transgender visibility beyond today, of course, still stands. Asian lives still stands. Latino and Hispanic lives still stands. Like, you don't have to wait for it to be at the forefront of media. You still fight for it. Yeah. Yes. All right. So I'm coming to the end of this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in, but I want you to take this time and don't reflect on others right now. After this, don't reflect on the people who are being violent against Asian Americans. Don't reflect on the people who are being rude. Start at zero. Start with yourself. Are you contributing to stopping stuff like this? Have you contributed to this kind of culture? Have you contributed to those comments that just make people not feel great about themselves? Whether it be something that is outwardly a judgment or something that perpetuates judgment or contributes to that. Are you making someone uncomfortable with what you're saying? You may think it's a compliment, but does that person think it's a compliment? Or is it just kind of something that's like awkward and impolite? Would you say this to someone out in the world? Or would you not, because politeness and etiquette deems it not so? Like, start with yourself first. Self-reflection is being overpowered by self-indulgence. A lot of times we're like, you are number one, treat yourself and whatnot. Like, Don't look out for it. This is the year of me looking out for my own. This is my own awareness. Like, awareness also has to be, okay, am I actually doing something good? Am I just like the best thing that's ever walked this earth? Or do I need some work? Can I do something better? Can I be a little bit better in anything? Even if you're good at something, you can still be better about it. That happens all the time with our board members. We are leaders. We've been leaders for years, but we constantly have that discussion. Am I doing well as a leader? Could I do something better as a leader? Start with something you're good at, see if you can improve it, then go on to the things that you're not great at and see where you can start to improve there. And then you can branch out into the bigger things like activism and civil rights, but start at zero. Start at, am I just contributing to a polite and respectable environment? First and foremost. Other than that, thank you for taking the time to be here in this live stream. I ask in the future, I want to have more discussions. I want to talk about nerdy things. I want to talk about the most amazing nerdy things. If we keep this chat open, let this chat be talking about the content material. That's awesome. I love seeing you guys post there. I love when you get so indulgent in what I'm talking about that you tell me stuff about comic books and anime and video games and then something that's irrelevant pops up and you're like, oh, they're not paying attention. Like, that's not cool. So let's keep Beyond the Northern Wall something where it is a touch base. That is the way for core to touch base with the comrades and kind of reflect on these things in a self-respectable way, in a way that where we have boundaries. Because again, even for the comrades and the patrons, remember, we still don't I don't know you. You don't know me. Protect yourself. Protect thyself. Yeah? So go on for the rest of this week. Like, just be good. Be good. Be good. Be happy, be good. And go be good for someone else. Do that. Wonder if you're good for someone else. If knowing you and having you around is good for someone else. Because then someone else will do that for you. Someone else will be like, I hope that I am contributing to your lifestyle. And you're like, oh my gosh, you totally are. That's sweet, right? That's good. Community. Anyways, Nifa, you got anything else to say? In a little chit chat? Chit chat? Nifa's awesome. Nifa's great. Nifa's here. Thank you, Nifa, for having my back there in the chat. She's great. Again, it is Transgender Visibility Day. Make sure you stand up for our transgender siblings. There's so much. And beyond this day, too. Women's history is almost done in, March? That doesn't mean women's history is forever done. It just means we're moving on to Sexual Awareness Month. That is a huge one. That is a huge one. Yeah. When in doubt, find your favorite anime character and think, what would they do? Would they be good? Would they fight for what's right? And then do that. Anyways, I'm not going to do the call out. When we offer this up on core, it means something every time. It means you are offering your heart up for humanity. And so we don't call it out unless we truly feel it. That's happened before. We've had it on days where we're really reflecting on what we're contributing. It's like, we're not going to call it out until we truly feel it. So right now, we're not going to call it out this week because I want us to self-reflect. Are we actually offering our heart up to humanity in all the small ways that count? Take your time to think about that. With that being said, thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Northern Wall. I'll see y'all next week. Have a great and safe night.